don't usually camp alone. I'm not that type of person, at least I wasn't. But last year, after a brutal breakup and the pressure of work boiling me alive, I needed silence. No notifications, no people, just nature. So I booked a campsite at Red Hollow National Forest, about 2 hours from my apartment in Vermont. The ranger on the phone told me most of the lots were empty, which I took as a blessing. I wanted peace. I arrived at the site late afternoon. It was beautiful. Tall pines, a fading orange sky, and a lake that looked like glass. I pitched my tent near the tree line. I remember thinking, somewhere quiet enough to hear myself think. I didn't realize that I would hear other things too. I made a fire, cooked, sat alone. The silence felt good. Around 1 a.m., I crawled into my tent. I lay there listening to insects chirping until I heard something that didn't belong. Leaves crunching, slow, heavy. Footsteps, not an animal, too deliberate. It circled the tent. Step, pause, not wandering, tracking. I froze. I didn't breathe. I told myself it was just a deer. But deer don't move like they're thinking. The steps made a full rotation around me and then silence. I lay awake until dawn. When I finally stepped outside, I saw tracks. Not boot treads, bare footprints. They circled the tent almost perfectly. Only one set. No others leading in or out. Like someone had been placed there. I should have left then. But I convinced myself I was being dramatic. That evening, a storm rolled over the hills. Heavy wind, dripping branches, thunder making the ground tremble. Around 2:30 a.m., I woke again, this time to dragging, shuffling sounds. Then breathing. Right outside the nylon wall, slow and wet. I sat up and my knee hit my phone. Without thinking, I opened the voice recorder and set it down. I didn't speak and I didn't move. The breathing stayed for nearly a full minute. Then a voice whispered something I still wish I could forget. I found you. I nearly vomited from fear. Lightning flashed, and for a split second the tent lit up from outside. A silhouette leaned over me, head tilted. Then it was gone. I didn't sleep again. Morning came like a mercy. I stumbled out, shaking, and checked my phone. The recording was only 1 minute 34 seconds. At the 1:12 mark, I heard it. First the breathing, then the whisper. But the whisper wasn't close. In the audio, it was inside the tent, right next to the phone. Like someone had leaned over my shoulder and spoken to the microphone. I threw up behind a log. I should have driven home then. But exhaustion and stupid pride kept me there. One more night, I told myself. One more night and then leave at sunrise. That was a mistake. I didn't sleep. I lay in my sleeping bag, clutching a camping knife, watching the zipper like a hawk. Around 4 a.m., the woods went dead silent. Not quiet, dead. No wind, no insects, nothing. And then from directly behind my head, inches away, zip, the tent zipper moved. Just an inch. Then another. Something was opening my tent from the inside. I lunged forward and grabbed the zipper, yanking it shut. I screamed, "Who's out there?" No answer. I sat with my back against the flap until sunrise. When daylight finally came, I came out shaking. And the footprints were there again. But this time, there were more of them. Not one set, multiple overlapping human footprints, all barefoot, all circling. Like several people spent the night walking around my tent in loops. I tore everything down in 10 minutes and shoved it into my car. As I sped down the gravel road, I saw a ranger truck heading toward the site. I flagged him down and told him someone was stalking my campsite. He frowned. That campground's been closed for 3 months, he said. A hiker went missing there. Never found. I insisted someone had been there. He didn't look convinced. But then he asked where I had pitched my tent. I pointed back toward the woods. His expression changed. He went pale. That used to be campsites, 12 and 13, he said quietly. We closed them after what we found. What did you find? I asked. He swallowed. Footprints in circles. Over a dozen of them, all barefoot. I moved apartments a few months later. I threw away that tent. But I kept the audio recording. I've listened to it 100 times, trying to make sense of the breathing, the whisper, the impossibility. Every time the voice sounds clearer. And yesterday, for the first time, I finally made out the full whisper. I never left. Now every night around 3 a.m., I wake up to the same noise I heard out there slow, steady breathing, right beside my bed. And I know I'm not alone anymore. Emily Carver moved into Unit 4B on the 4th floor of a modest brick apartment building just outside Columbus, Ohio. It wasn't glamorous. Yellow hallway bulbs, aging carpet, and the faint smell of canned soup from the elderly couple on 2A. But it was quiet, affordable, and safer than where she came from. Her job was remote tech support. She rarely left except for groceries, gym, and weekly coffee with a friend. She liked routine. She liked predictability. And for the first 2 months, that's what she got. Until she met the neighbor in 4C. It happened one Monday night, around 9 p.m. Emily stepped into the hallway with a trash bag and wearing pajamas and headphones. When she turned, she didn't notice someone already there. She bumped right into a tall man in a gray hoodie. "Oh, sorry," Emily laughed awkwardly. The hooded man looked at her just a second too long before smiling. "All good," he said. "You're Emily, right? 4B? She froze. Yeah. I'm Ben." He jerked his thumb toward his door. 4C? He smelled faintly of cigarettes, stale, not fresh. His eyes were wide, as if he never blinked. Emily forced a smile, tossed her trash, and hurried back inside. She chalked the weirdness up to shyness. But it stuck with her. How did he know her name? She hadn't introduced herself to anyone. 2 weeks later, Emily misplaced her bedroom lamp remote. She always kept it on the nightstand, but now it was on the floor, 3 feet from the bed. She shrugged it off. Maybe she knocked it off grabbing her phone. She was tired, she was clumsy. But then came the second event. Her toothbrush was still damp when she woke up, even though she brushed the night before and let it dry. Not misplaced. Used. She stared at it for a long minute. Maybe she forgot brushing in the morning. Maybe she was just stressed. Her brain offered excuses. Rational, ordinary, safe. Humans do that when something is wrong. Benjamin from 4C seemed to appear everywhere Emily was. Elevator, mailroom, parking lot. Always smiling, always trying small talk. "You working late again?" I heard your door around midnight. You okay? You looked sad when you came home today." That last one made Emily pause. She hadn't seen him when she came home. Her blinds were closed. "How do you know when I came home?" she asked. He blinked once, then smiled. Thin walls. He walked away. Emily didn't sleep much that night. At 3:12 a.m., she woke up thirsty. She got up, walked into the kitchen, drank from the faucet, then went back. That's when she noticed it. Her bedroom door was closed. She never slept with the door closed. She lived alone. She never shut doors. She swallowed back a sudden tightness in her chest. Maybe she shut it without thinking before bed. Maybe she dreamed it being open. Her mind kept trying to protect her from the truth. After 3 more strange incidents, a pair of socks under the couch, her phone placed on the kitchen counter, and a window cracked open, Emily ordered 2 small cameras. One for the living room, one for the bedroom. She didn't tell anyone, not even her friend Madison. She didn't want to sound paranoid. She set up the bedroom camera angled toward the bed. It gave her enough peace to sleep. For a while. One Friday morning, she woke up groggy. She checked the footage out of curiosity. The timestamp read 2:49 a.m. The door slowly opened. Emily's pulse spiked. A figure, tall hoodie, face obscured, stepped into the room. He didn't touch anything. He didn't move. He stood 2 feet from the bed and watched her sleep for 16 minutes. Then he left. Emily dropped her phone. Her hands shook uncontrollably and she grabbed her keys, walked out barefoot, and sat in her car until sunrise. At the station, she played the footage. An officer squinted at the phone and shrugged. "No forced entry? Could be staged," he said. "Staged?" Emily whispered. "Why would I stage someone watching me sleep?" "You live alone," he said flatly. "Maybe you forgot letting a visitor in. Maybe you sleepwalk." She felt humiliation burn her eyes. The officer finally scribbled a report, just enough to get her out of the office. She called maintenance and paid extra to get her locks replaced and deadbolts added. The maintenance guy, Pete, said something odd. "You're actually the 3rd person on this floor asking for that in the last year." Emily stopped. "What happened to the others?" Pete shrugged. "Don't know. They moved out." Moved out, just vanished. That evening around 10 p.m., Emily sat curled on the couch, watching TV to distract herself. A knock broke the silence, or 3 slow taps. She froze. Another knock. She didn't move. Then, "Emily, it's Ben. You didn't say hi today." Her breath caught in her throat. She didn't answer. After 10 seconds of silence, his voice returned, soft, almost disappointed. "You changed your lock." Her heart hammered. Doors won't help. Emily backed away from the door until she hit the far wall. The footsteps faded. Emily didn't sleep. She sat upright in bed with the lights on, phone in hand, watching the clock move toward sunrise. But exhaustion eventually won. She drifted off. When she woke, sunlight leaked through the blinds. She hadn't checked the camera yet. Part of her didn't want to, but she played it anyway. 2:41 a.m. door didn't open. 2:48 a.m. nothing. 2:57 a.m. Emily turned in her sleep. 3:02 a.m. a shape rose from beside her bed, not from the door, from the floor. He had been under her bed. He crawled out, slow, confident, deliberate, and stood over her for 29 minutes. Emily stopped breathing. She wasn't safe. The new locks didn't matter. He was already inside before she locked them. The footage ended with him lowering himself back under the bed. She didn't scream. She didn't call police again. She packed clothes, laptop, wallet, moved fast. She didn't check under the bed. She walked out of the apartment shaking, got in her car, and called her sister in Cincinnati. "Can I stay a couple days?" she said. Her sister said yes. Emily drove. Emily had left her phone charger plugged into the hallway outlet outside her bedroom door. It was the only one she had for that phone model. She stopped 20 minutes into the drive, cursed under her breath, and turned around. She told herself, "I'll be quick. In, out." The building hallway was silent as she walked down toward 4B with her key in hand. She didn't look at 4C. She opened her apartment door, still unlocked, and slipped inside. The charger was right where she left it. She grabbed it, turned, and heard a soft click behind her. Her apartment door eased shut on its own. The chain lock slid into place. But Emily never installed the chain lock. Detectives would later retrieve the camera footage. The final recording from that morning showed Emily walking back into the bedroom. She bent to unplug the charger. A figure slid silently from beneath the bed. He stood up behind her. The footage ended as a hand reached toward her shoulder. No body was ever found. Unit 4B became vacant within the month. And Unit 4C, a new tenant moved in claiming the previous renter, a tall man named Ben, left without notice. But nobody saw him leave the building. Ever. I don't usually tell people this story. When I've tried, I get that polite nod, the one people give when they're sure you're exaggerating or making things up. But what happened to me on Route 89 in northern Vermont 3 winters ago? I remember every minute of it. I was driving home from Burlington to Stowe after visiting my sister. It was late, close to midnight, and the snow was that thick, drifting kind that turns headlights into a white fog. I wasn't drunk. I wasn't tired, at least not enough to hallucinate. I was just bored and uncomfortable, wanting to get home before the roads iced over. About 20 minutes outside Burlington, the road got emptier. No cars in front, none behind. Just pine trees, snowbanks, and that long ribbon of blacktop. That's when I saw him. A figure on the shoulder of the road coat, soaked through, hood down, thumbs sticking out mechanically, like he'd been doing it for hours. For a second I debated slowing down, but you have to understand the weather. It was below freezing, and the nearest gas station was miles away. Leaving someone out there felt like a death sentence. So I pulled over. He jogged up to the passenger door, pulled it open without hesitation, and got in. He didn't slam the door, he eased it shut like someone trying not to disturb a sleeping baby. The first thing I noticed was how wet he was. Snowflakes were stuck in his hair, melting down his cheeks like sweat. He smelled faintly like damp wool and lake water. Not the gross, sour smell of a homeless drifter, just cold, wet fabric. He didn't look at me. He just stared straight ahead and said very quietly, "Thanks. I just needed a ride for a little while." His voice was flat, not nervous, not grateful, just tired. I asked where he was headed. He didn't answer right away. He swallowed like he had to force the words out. Just keep going straight. I'll tell you when we're close. That should have been a red flag, but I started driving. For a few minutes, neither of us spoke. The only sound was the wipers pushing slush off the windshield. I kept glancing at him out of the corner of my eye. He looked maybe late 20s, early 30s, clean-shaven. His hands were pale and veiny, resting on his knees like he didn't quite know what to do with them. After a while, I tried again. So, what happened to your car, Ishu? He turned his head toward me, slowly like the movement hurt. Didn't have one. That was it. No explanation. We drove another 5 minutes in silence. My anxiety was kicking in now. It suddenly felt wrong to have a stranger in the car who wouldn't say more than 5 words at a time. I tried a different approach. Are you from around here? He nodded once. I was, past tense. That stuck with me. I didn't speak after that, I just drove. Eventually the GPS showed an upcoming rest area, the kind with a few vending machines and bathrooms. I figured he might ask to get out there. But when we approached, his hand twitched, like he almost wanted to reach for the wheel. Don't stop here. His voice sharp and still quiet, but suddenly emotional, like panic was buried under it. I passed the rest area. The further we drove, the worse the snow got. My phone lost signal. The road felt older, narrower, with heavy trees arching overhead. That's when he finally spoke again. There's an exit about 7 miles ahead. It leads to Lake R. You can drop me there. I frowned because I'd driven that road 100 times. There was no exit in 7 miles. Nothing went to Lake R, except a dirt road way back before Burlington. Are you sure it's ahead? I asked. He just nodded. So I kept going. 7 miles, watching the odometer, hands sweating on the wheel. At exactly 7.1 miles, the road bent, and there it was. An exit. A real exit. Lit by a flickering yellow street lamp leading into a dark road swallowed by trees. I'd never seen it before. And here's the thing, highway exits don't just appear. My stomach lurched. I slowed the car to a crawl. You want me to take it? I asked. He stared through the windshield. He didn't blink. Just pull onto the shoulder. I'll walk. There was no shoulder, just snow piled against a guardrail. You sure? I said. I can take you farther. He shook his head. This is far enough. That's when I got scared. Really scared. If he reached for something, a knife, a gun, I had nowhere to go. I stopped the car. I didn't put it in park. I kept my foot on the brake in case I needed to bolt. He didn't move. Didn't reach for the door handle. Didn't unbuckle a seatbelt. I realized he never put one on. Then he said, almost politely, "Thank you for stopping that night." Night. As if he were remembering something, not talking about the present. I said nothing. He opened the door. Or at least, I heard the sound of the door opening, the click, the wind pushing in. I didn't turn my head. I stared ahead, eyes locked on the road, heart punching in my chest. The door shut. I felt the car get lighter, like the weight beside me was gone. I finally forced myself to look. He wasn't there. The seat was empty, but the door was still closed. There were wet handprints on the vinyl, one smeared across the inside of the window, the other on the dashboard. No footprints outside, just falling snow. I pressed the gas and tore off down the highway like something was chasing me. I didn't stop until I reached Stowe. I honestly don't remember the rest of the drive. The next morning, trying to make sense of it, I checked GPS history. There was no exit where I had stopped. The map showed nothing. That entire stretch was marked as uninterrupted road for 12 miles. I went back a week later, daylight, clear weather. I drove that same stretch 3 times. No exit. No street lamp by. Just guardrail and pines. I told one friend. She asked if maybe I'd fallen asleep at the wheel. But wet handprints don't appear from dreams. To this day, when I drive Route 89 at night, I keep my eyes dead ahead. And if I ever see someone on the shoulder again, cold, soaked, thumb out, I'm not stopping. Not ever again.